Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm Ewan Graf, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan Thiele.
On episode 199, my god, a ton of upcoming productions have finally wrapped filming, other shows are cancelled, a weird Aussie spin-off, fake quotes in a trailer, like, yikes, what a week of emotions. This is a wild one. Luckily, I have this show to summarize all of the news, and that's brilliant. Ewan, I have a little surprise for you. I watched something and I think you're going to be super excited that I watched it.
Looking forward to that. You also watched Alien. That can't be the surprise, so I'm looking forward to that. I watched Bad Monkey, both of the Crow films, the new season of Only Murders in the Building. I got screeners for those, and I started prepping myself for Venice because, well, starting next week, we're gone forever. Until like the week after, then we're back, but then we're gone for a week forever. But I watched Beetlejuice, A Bigger Splash, and more. We'll get into that later on.
Finally, Zoë Kravitz's directorial debut is on the cards today with her thriller starring Naomi Ackie and Channing Tatum, Blink Twice. By the way, that is just some of the names in this film. There is a cast in this film, like a cast. There is an ensemble of people who are in this film, a ton.
Yeah, there's a character named Slater and an actor named Slater in it.
And literally Christian Slater, which is wild, but we'll get into that and our thoughts later on in this episode.
We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there.
Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
Okay, Lachlan, at the top of the show, we do have to mention again, we won't be here next week, but it's not like you won't be able to see at least what Kev and I are up to, because we plan to record like first thoughts with a couple of other people who are attending the Venice Film Festival. Pretty much straight as the embargo drops, we should have like early thoughts and reviews up for those right after like we get out of the screenings. So that's going to be exciting, very stressful. We're currently booking all of our stuff. The first couple of days are already booked. Yeah, very much looking forward to it. But again, follow us on X, on Instagram, on TikTok if you don't want to miss all of that stuff. And some shorts should also post over on this channel. And hope you join us along the ride. Lachlan, I'm sorry that this year we can't take you along. But like we said, and like we plan to next year in Gun, hopefully we can do that one together. It was still fun to do alone, but I feel like the year before it was a thrill to like experience that together for the first time. And love to do it again. Let's get into the news first, and we do have a pretty sad news item to start it off with, because the legendary actor Alain Delon has passed away. He is a French-Swiss filmmaker, rose to quick stardom, it says on his Letterboxd page, and is definitely known, at least to me, and his first introduction of him was for me Le Samouraï, which is a film that came out in 1967. Let that sink in. And it's such a trademark thing for a lot of other films to come after. Like a lot of other filmmakers are inspired by that Jean-Pierre Melville film. So if you haven't already, I think like that's the easiest recommendation. You can see so much of his work in there. He's just like also was coined the most attractive man to ever live. For quite a while there. And I mean, when you see the movie, it makes sense. Well, it is that. And then I also ended up watching The Swimming Pool for the first time because I watched Luca Guadagnino's A Bigger Splash in preparation for Queer in Venice. I'm getting there. This is another film from 1969 that, was the most recent film I saw him in. A lot of his stuff is streaming on Criterion. So he was also in Purple Moon, Le Cercle Rouge, L'Éclisse, The Leopard. Like there's a ton of stuff, ton of iconic films, French films that some of them I have to catch up on them myself. But a really iconic career that you can remember by watching his best work. And Lachlan, I would definitely like in the week that we're off, go see Le Samouraï. I think it's really good.
I'll
Great
try.
history lesson. Then something that we won't see more of is the second season of The Acolyte. At first, I feel like in our reviews, we were pretty set on that this needs to be like a closed off story. Otherwise, it's going to fuck with continuity. Apparently, they were thinking of a way within the story that wouldn't be an issue, but it doesn't matter. The second season is now canceled. Now, as someone who was excited about something new in Star Wars and then is continuously let down, Lachlan, what do you feel about like this cancellation?
Yeah, look, I don't want to say let down. It's not a surprise that it got cancelled, with the amount of, I guess, hate that came across on it for it trying to do something new. But that was never the problem people had with it. People had problems with representation and just were kind of pulling it apart. And at its core, I think there were some really positive things that people were just not even involving themselves with. Like, we have to admit, first and foremost, it had some of the best lightsaber choreography we've had in recent Star Wars memory. Even if you want to take into account Kenobi and Kenobi's fight with Darth Vader in that series wasn't the same. Like, it had the emotional drama, but never had the flair that we've ever received since the prequel trilogy. I think the prequel trilogy is fantastic for having a good mixture of great choreography and emotion. But the thing is, the Acolyte still had, a fantastic villain. I think one of the best villains we've had in a Star Wars IP. I'm just naturally used to saying Star Wars movie, but now we've got Star Wars TV shows and games and fucking everything falling out of my ears. So I'm a little bit disappointed we're not going to see this narrative wrapped up, because there is something there worth exploring, and there is something there that was worth having a second season to finish off the story. But yeah, it's Disney. They're basically the same as Netflix when it comes to canceling stuff.
I mean, yeah. Well, what they do as well is often they do these miniseries that one of the arguments was often made that they feel like lesser movies that were just like spliced apart and maybe stretched out a bit, and there's no room for like a continuous story because it wasn't really thought out that way in the first place. I feel like the Acolyte was maybe a bit different that way, but I felt that the story beats that they had were like incredibly repetitive, and it never got like to an actual like deeper place, but it wanted to build like these intriguing initially, like at least on like a fact sheet level of what they had there. They have intriguing characters, but they don't make it exciting or interesting. So I don't mind that this is canceled, because I wouldn't want to see a second season. The reason why people hate it still, I mean, there's nuance to that, and some of the just like it's woke, we hate it is it's so annoying. People are just loud, but it's great to like remind yourself every now and then that it is a very loud vocal minority in most cases. Or if it's not, then that's even more depressing. But speaking of vocal minorities, those darn critics that go to festivals and rip a movie apart, like my half-star review of Megalopolis, we now know it's what fuels Francis Ford Coppola. Now it just I guess turns out that the fuel was all made up. The fuel is a lie. And the quotes that they used to stage this first trailer for Megalopolis, at least the first bigger trailer, I thought they already had a couple of trailers out, but hey, I guess not. They were basically like using Roger Ebert and other iconic film critics quotes that were supposed to be like going at his, especially like the Godfather, and the quotes were just not made by them or not in the right movies. They were attributed to the wrong one. Yeah, it was just a bit of an embarrassing PR dilemma that Lionsgate had to face there. They can gladly take mine. I have a bunch of negative things to say about it. Maybe that helps the film. It's coming sooner than later. I mean, a lot of people are gonna see it, and then I'm interested to see what they think of it. Now that Emilia Perez, another film that I really didn't like, coming out of Venice, but people have just like, because it got like 2 awards, people are like, oh, it's getting Oscar everything. And I don't think the movie was good, and it's starting to come out in French-speaking parts of Europe, I think. And people are like, the early reception is also like, huh? Why were people hyped about this in Cannes? And I was also in the same way confused. But Lachlan, you stay clear of the trailer because I feel like want to experience it as like, I'm sad you didn't get to experience it with me in Cannes here, but and like that whole experience of like how diverse the film is has already been taken away. But are you looking forward to this film, or is it just like, I don't know, curiosity at this point, or are you actually looking forward to it?
That's a very difficult question, because I think that I'm now just curious more than excited
Right.
for this, just because to see it ripped apart, like I am looking at the Megalopolis Letterboxd ratings, and it's literally like up, down, up,
It's
down,
like-
up, down, up, down, up, down, up.
It
like,
reminds me of
it's
home.
so divisive.
It reminds me of home.
And I am excited for that. I'm a little bit disappointed that I didn't get to make my way over to Melbourne 2 weeks ago to see it at the Melbourne International Film Festival. That would have been a fun time to try to catch it there, but unfortunately just slipped my radar. But with Megalopolis around the corner, I've got about a month until it comes out in cinemas. I have to say I think I'm excited for it. I think I am, and I don't want that. I don't want to. Ewan, what if you hate it and I love it?
That would make the greatest podcast episode. Like I'm so looking forward to that.
I really,
if that's the case, that's so fun.
Deep down in me, I really want to love this movie. I want to be at 5 stars, and I want you to be at half a star, and I want it to be the most like we want to rip each other's heads off because we keep like, oh, this was great, this was terrible, this was great, this was terrible. Like I feel like we both respect Francis Ford Coppola, but I feel like you respect him less.
I now do, and
Yeah,
I also
so.
watched Bram Stoker, and I also didn't love that one, and it feels like to me outliers that he had early in his career, and then I don't know, something broke in him.
So
after,
who's wilder when it
Apocalypse
comes
Now.
to their flops, Ridley Scott or Francis Ford Coppola?
It would have been maybe a different answer before Megalopolis, but I feel like it's also for Francis Ford Coppola. I still have yet to see a bunch of his films, and with the release of Megalopolis, we do plan to make a bigger thing out of it and go through his filmography. If we end up, hopefully, we will end up doing that. I feel like you got more to catch up on them because did you end up watching? You got the Godfather trilogy. Have you started watching it yet? No, not yet. And it's like, sorry, I shouldn't leak that you haven't seen The Godfather. It's like, oh my God. Now people have lost respect for you, but no.
And
but
no
like,
respect
there's
to
something
start
to catch
with.
up on. Yeah, it starts upside down because you're Australian. But
Yeah, exactly.
we're gonna get deeper into his filmography, and then I would really like to cap it with Megalopolis again to maybe once again appreciate where he comes from, and maybe, why this mess took 30 years to make, and why this is what he thinks he wants to have out there. I don't know. I was just confused the whole time with the movie. I think it was a really, really frustrating film. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll definitely rewatch it in September. I think it also has a Swiss distributor, so I'll actually see it next month. We can get in deep in our discussion about the film. All right, let's get to a couple of quick news items. First up, Alien Earth premieres on FX and Hulu next year. It's set 3 decades before Alien and has a really big young cast. Among them is also Timothy Olyphant, which I don't know if I could call him young, but exciting, a prequel before the prequel, and the earliest point in the timeline.
Speaking of Alien Romulus opens with 104 million worldwide in its opening weekend, which is the second highest in the franchise history.
Then The Boys, Claudia Dumit has been cast in a Megan 3 spin-off Soulmate that has an 8 in it. Very cool. Megan had a 3. Very cool stuff. The film follows a man who acquires an android to cope with the loss of his recently deceased wife.
Millie Bobby Brown will star in and produce an adaptation of her own novel, 19 Steps, for Netflix. Netflix has this thing for Millie Bobby Brown. They just won't let her go. The story follows a girl navigating the challenges of living in London during World War II while charting her new romance with an American airman. Oh wait, it's her own novel. I thought it was a novel about herself, and I was like, I think she's got her timeline mixed up. No, it's her own. She wrote this one, and now it's getting adapted. Got it.
Isn't that his thing on TikTok where I don't know what it's called, but I'll put it up here, but where you like insert yourself in your mind into like a lot of people do Harry Potter, and she just does it with World War II, I guess. Then we have 2 big productions that have wrapped, both The Last of Us Season 2 and Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, have wrapped filming, and both are set to release in 2025.
The Friday the 13th prequel series is moving forward at A24. Brad Caleb Kane, Welcome to the Dairy and Black Sails fame, will serve as the showrunner.
Then a Poltergeist series series is in the works over at Amazon. Kalinda Vasquez and Robbie Thompson will serve as showrunners.
This one hurts a little bit. An Australian reboot of The Office releases on Prime Video on October 18th. All of the episodes will drop in one day.
They got a lot of confidence in it, and I feel like, hey, who's there? Do you have a gym? What would be the gym equivalent of Australia? Like, what would you name a gym character?
Ah, Jesus. The thing is, it's like every Australian comedian is kind of like a Jim in that kind of sense. We don't really have like we could just do Jim Jeffries. That's actually pretty funny. Just get Jim Jeffries to do it. Have you seen the cast for this?
I have not had a look at the cast. Actually,
Okay.
This quick news gets extended to a bigger newsletter.
Well, I mean, just quickly, I mean, there's a ton of people in here. They're mostly of Australian fame more than anything else. The only exception I could make maybe would be Zoe Kravitz.
Ah, yeah.
Fully pronounce their name.
Was
But
in
they
Talk to
were
Me?
from Talk to Me.
Sorry, yeah, they were. That's to me a bit confusing. I didn't know this was in the works, and then I just saw the news like, hey, this is coming out next month,
Yeah.
I guess. In October 18th. I will give it a watch. Apart from that, there's also an animated TED series in the works. Season 2 of the live action show actually almost didn't get made because it just cost like $8 million per episode, and it's high production cost for a comedy series like that.
Anya Taylor-Joy will star as murderer Grace Bernard in a series adaptation of How to Kill Your Family for Netflix. The story follows a young woman who wages a murderous campaign against a millionaire and his family after he refuses to acknowledge her as his daughter.
What's the most Netflix thing ever? Like, How to Kill Your Family is such a Netflix title. And then Glenn Powell's comedy series Chad Powers has begun filming. The series follows a college quarterback whose career ends after bad behavior. So he walks onto a struggling Southern football team disguised as a talented Chad Powers. And Powell co-created the series with Michael Waldron.
28 years later has finished filming.
Then Paul Schrader reveals his next feature film, The Basics of Philosophy, about an intellectual university philosophy professor.
Kogonada's next film, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, releases May 9th, 2025. It stars Colin Farrell, Margot Robbie, Jodie Turner-Smith, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and tells the imaginative tale of two strangers and the extraordinary emotional journey that connects them. That I'm keen for.
Yeah, very much looking forward to the next from Kogonada as well. Yeah, stunning cast, and he's amazing. Coming off, I guess, the not so great 2 episodes from The Acolyte, I'm very much looking forward to his next film. And then scratch all of that news, even the Kogonada stuff, because Letterboxd has fixed their search engine, Lachlan. It's the biggest news of the year, of the week, of the month, of the decade. And it's great. I can be dyslexic and bad at typing on the website, and it actually just is giving me search results. And it wasn't before, because I think they were taking the database straight from TMDB, and that site has a shit search engine as well. They fixed it. I don't know how they did it. I don't want to know. They worked their magic, and it's actually really good now. So I guess that was just intense. Luckily, your whole computer just crashed when we talked too much about Letterboxd. We're happy. We're happy. Don't
I'm
read us wrong,
happy.
Letterboxd.
I'm happy. We were only complaining about this less than a week ago.
And people have been complaining for this for so long.
We weren't
and
complaining
it's a
on
big
camera
fix.
either. We were complaining off camera.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Well,
just chatting.
they have their ways.
They have their
Letterboxd knows.
ways. Yeah, Letterboxd knows. I mean,
It
they're only in
transitions
New
us.
Zealand. They're not too far away from me.
We all know we have a tunnel that goes underneath the whole Earth, so like we can exchange like
Exactly.
stuff. It's just that's how that works. But it ties us over nicely to the tech problems of the 2000s in the first trailer of A24's Y2K that premiered earlier this year at South by Southwest. To some, I'd say, pretty mixed reviews and response so far. All the trailers we're going to talk about today come out in like a 1.5 week span over in December. This is obviously a straight up comedy. We're both too young to, I guess, have experienced the Y2K craze, and I mean the whole cast as well is like probably born after the 2000s as well. Did it make you like intrigued to check this out, or yeah, on a comedy? I feel like for you it can, especially like more recent comedies, a lot of them have missed for you. Do you think this one could be a hit?
As long as the comedy is sort of on the nose with what it's doing, because it looks like a quite honestly, this looks like a movie that Seth Rogen would have made as like one of
Yeah.
his stoner movies. So I can totally see
Yeah.
the comedy landing if it's done well. But I'm not like super intrigued from it. I might catch it, I might not. Charlie didn't really
I mean,
do it for me.
the Y2K, like the lead male guy who's a bit whiny, and he just has a whiny face as well, gives off major Michael
God,
Cera vibes.
You hate kid actors.
He's not a kid. I think he's like 23 probably. But I've seen him in
Well.
other stuff. I've seen him in some bad movies. I think I've seen him in some decent stuff, but I can't remember what it was. But I've seen him in some bad stuff. He wasn't per se bad. I do, however, have a bit of a reluctance to feel positive about what Rachel Zegler does, because I feel like she often is just the pretty face who does like the poses, which maybe works in Snow White. I don't know, and she can sing well, but I don't know if it works in comedy for me at least. And so I gotta dial it back on the hater energy sometimes. I'm sorry. I have it for certain actors, and there's no reason for it sometimes.
It's getting hot in here.
And I shouldn't maybe openly talk about that stuff. But I do have it for, and it's like, I don't know, I can't explain it. I feel like I'm way more interested in what Saturday Night has to offer over this, especially because some people I respect and value their opinions have not like talked super positively about the film. Of course, it's A24. We'll definitely check it out, and it might even be our main review of that week. Although it seems to me that December is very stacked, because we are also getting a Tim Miller animated anthology series from the people behind Love, Death, Robots, with Secret Level. I guess the producers, I don't know how much that is involved. It's just part of the marketing there. But Secret Level comes out on December 10th over on Prime. Basically, is again an anthology story that takes from video games and animates them into a pretty modern and slick style. There's not a lot of like hyper stylized stuff, at least from what I saw so far. Maybe that was just for coherency, to keep the trailer coherent. Lachlan, is there any like particular game that really stood out to you that you were excited to see them adapt?
Well, I don't know if it's like adapt, because it's not really adaptation. They do all seem to be kind of set in their own spaces. I have to admit though, the Space Marines at the start were pretty fucking hype, because Space Marines are hype in amongst themselves. I just saw a ton of different characters and famous faces, because Keanu Reeves is in one of these as well, which is super
in Armored
wild
Core, I think.
Yeah. Look, I don't really have anything that jumps out at me, because all of these seem to be quite pretty. As long as they do them with faith to the original, and they do not do anything stupid, because Love, Death, Robots does have some pretty stupid episodes, and they're a little bit just all over the place when it comes to tonality. But if they kind of stick with what each of those original stories did, like if they get Kratos and they make him like he's just doing dad jokes the entire time, I'm not going to be into that. I would be more into like a little separate narrative piece of maybe what he did after the moments of God of War Ragnarok. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
I'm especially intrigued. You played Sifu. I watched a bit of gameplay of that. That seems to me just like the opportunity to have a really sick just action, hand-to-hand combat stuff. Pac-Man stood out to me a bit. Mega Man was interesting. And just having the gorgeous world of Ghost of Tsushima be represented. I saw that like there's various PlayStation Studio games that are in there, but ultimately they are making 15, and similar to the first season of Love, Death, and Robots, we got like 18 shorts, and then with the second season, they dialed it back to like 8, and then for the third season, it was 9 again. And I think for this upcoming one, we don't have a count yet, but I think another one is in the works. This could be super fun. Just like we or you especially always bring up that games could be the next step of entertainment that like has gone from westerns or from the noirs, from like going through different genres, and these adaptations of games could be at the forefront of this interactive storytelling that goes beyond you playing into a narrative feature, beyond different mediums of animation and live action. And yeah, we're just kind of on the verge of that getting bigger and bigger. This seems to me like a fun next step. How do you like, how long do you think these episodes are going to be? Because like with Love, Death, Robots, there's like a couple that are 7 minutes long, and there's others that are like proper actual like short films, like The Secret War. I guess they're all like under 20 minutes, right? I assume they're not going to be much beyond that. Or what do you think we can expect?
I don't think there would be much longer than that. The only other thing I'd really like is to see the original actors come back to do the voices. I don't really want other people coming in and doing, especially because for the most part, most of these actors, at least the ones that are based on characters such as Kratos, such as in Sifu, they're all still alive. Same with the Ghost of Tsushima, Jin Sakai, he's also alive. Like, I hope those voice actors get to come back and do something a little bit more exciting and fun. But yeah, no, I'll be keen. I'll definitely be watching this when it comes out.
Well, speaking of voice acting, there's a couple of exciting voices we can hear in the first trailer for Lord of the Rings: The War of Rohirrim. No, sorry, I always say that wrong. How do you say that town's name? Rohirrim?
Rohirrim? I don't have no idea.
Rohirrim. I don't know. But that comes out December 13th, and the trailer starts off with giving an introduction to, I guess, those who don't know why there's an animated version of The Lord of the Rings now. They were like, oh, let's start off with the live action you guys know, and then ease you into a story that goes beyond that. And yeah, it's just an animated film coming from Warner Bros. They got still have the rights to Lord of the Rings, and got someone like Succession as one of the leads, the old guy that he plays. But then it seems to be the female lead that is at the center of the series. They're going into a slight, I think, definitely like anime routish, because the director Kenji Kamiyama also is Japanese, so you can definitely see the inspirations there to kind of breach that gap of a very Western IP with anime. But what did you think of this first trailer? Obviously, as a Lord of the Rings fan, you got to be excited, right?
Yeah, no, I think it looks stunning. I think that along with just looking pretty, I think the music is really good as well.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, there is a big cast in it, and I think that there is definitely some really good people who can do some really interesting stuff with their voices and separate the image of them away from their voice. So I'm very keen. Do I have to watch all of the Lord of the Rings extended cuts and Hobbit for this? I'm just trying to think if I can squeeze it
Probably
in before
not.
it comes out.
When does this
I
take
don't know.
place? Like when is this? Because I got no clue.
It's
I have seen
183 years before the events of the original trilogy of Lord of the Rings.
So I don't feel like you need to rewatch all of that. We can. I feel like
but I'm
sooner
saying,
than later.
I'm not saying do I. I'm saying should
You
I.
want to.
I'm just saying do I
Right.
want to watch Lord of the Rings? Do I want to go over just walk over there and go pull out my 4K copy of Lord of the Rings? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like I'll see you in 3 days when you're done watching the extended cuts. Yeah, also made me question if we should have watched some of the alternate cuts for Alien, because there's one for the first 3 have like an alternate cut. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I am not the biggest Lord of the Rings like. I say quote unquote fan as someone who's like seen it again and again, and I know these stories are like super revered, but I'm a fan of the series, of the story, The Hobbit not so much, but I definitely have a long overdue rewatch coming up soon. Yeah, those are the trailers for the week. Then don't forget to leave us a rating over on Spotify, on any podcast platform that you're listening to. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a like, subscribe, let us know what you're watching this week. Leave a comment, interact with us. Greatly appreciated. And when we're in Venice, another reminder that go follow us on our socials. So because we won't be posting as much over the next 2 weeks on the channel, but on the socials, we will be quite active during that time. But Lachlan, let's get to the stuff that we've been watching this week. And I'm glad you rewatched Alien. Do you have anything to say about it other than it's still the best, right? It's gotta be still
well,
the
I
best?
watched it with Tanika, and
Right, yeah. She's
well,
bound
that's
to
why
watch. Are you watching them all
eventually.
now with her? Or?
Hopefully, eventually. But there is so much other stuff I'm trying to catch up on, so I don't know if I'll be able to watch
Yeah.
all of them. But I rewatched it. I think you put it perfectly a few weeks ago. It's a perfect movie.
Yeah.
Fantastic in all elements, and I think that it holds up super well. And I think that it's a testament to how some films, even though they may be close to 79, so coming up to 50 years old, it's still able to hold up and still present. And there are particular things that don't do so well, like the obvious man in a suit, like with these hands, like the jazz hands that the alien does to scare people. I love those, but they've got that sort of comic nature to them that sure won't age well, but I love. And yeah, I'll hold that one close to my heart because it is one of the best alien movies, and it's the first one that I ever watched. And I'm super excited that I'm probably going to get to watch them all with Tanika, and also a bunch of people at work, because of Romulus, are watching Alien for the first time, and the series of Alien for the first time. So they're going through. I got one workmate who literally is who watched Alien, then Aliens, and then has done Alien 3 Resurrection, and just went through Prometheus and Covenant, and he said Covenant is his favorite of all of the Alien movies, which I think is a bold statement, and I really like that he was happy to take that stance. But it's a really fun watching everyone, not just people around me, but just everyone online as well, watching some of these movies for the first time and just kind of experiencing it for the first time, which is really engaging because it's the first time we've had a platform like Letterboxd where I can actively watch people kind of go through Alien the series and then get their initial reactions, which is great that you can live vicariously through people doing stuff like that. But speaking about movies close to my heart, I got this.
Oh, Clint Eastwood collection.
A Clint Eastwood collection. So here are the 4 films that are in here: Absolute Power, Any Which Way You Can, Sudden Impact, and Where Eagles Dare. I don't give a fuck about the first 3.
Yeah.
I'm only getting this for Where Eagles Dare because earlier this year I lost my grandfather, but I was lucky enough to fly over to Melbourne and hang out with him a couple of days / weeks before he passed, and we got to watch a movie together, and his favorite movie was Where Eagles Dare, and that is why I've been trying to hunt down a copy of it. And I just saw that there was a couple Clint Eastwood collections, and I looked at the back of a few of them, and I finally found one that had Where Eagles Dare, and yeah, I'm kind of just happy that I have a copy of it, and that's what matters most when it comes to that. But Ewan, that's not what you're here for, mate. You're here because I have Ewan's surprise.
What's the surprise?
I watched a movie for you.
He's finished the Before trilogy. What else could he have watched?
I've watched a movie that you have told me to watch many a times. We have done brackets.
Did I recently tell you to go see it?
Many conversations about this.
I know you've seen Grave of the Fireflies already. That was one of my big ones. Dude, as soon as you say it, it's going to be so obvious, but I can't guess it right now. Do you want to reveal or do you want me to guess? Okay.
I can reveal it, or I can give you another couple hints if you want.
No, you're about to reveal it. That's fine.
All right.
I'm in for the surprise.
I watched Coco.
Oh my god, that takes us back so far. It takes us back to episode, I think, 35.
You have been telling me to watch Coco for years, literally for years at this point.
To anyone curious, there's also episode 100. It's crazy because this is episode 199. Dude, that's so crazy because we had a clip from somewhere earlier where the cast was bigger. Lachlan wasn't on every week. I tried to get him every week, but I had to consolidate with some other cast members who are great, but I wanted Lachlan to be the main guy. And we did a Pixar bracket with like 5 people that didn't include Lachlan. And you chimed in at one point, right as we were like about to vote on something. And I think you tried to vote on a film against Coco, but you hadn't seen Coco. And then we did the Pixar bracket actually in episode 100, and you couldn't vote for it again. And finally, you've seen it. And now you can tell me that you hate it? Or
I called it like Pixar's Sicario or something like that. I can't remember exactly what joke I made.
Yep.
But yeah, what I probably should say is it's not really Pixar Sicario.
No. Not at all, no.
And it's not even close.
No. Which
to
makes
that.
it funnier.
It's probably closer to something like a Spanish Footloose. That's what it's kind of like.
Yeah.
Where music is banned, and you can't do your dreams. You got to fight for your dreams. No, I really liked it. I think it was actually really good. I think that it has some of the best music in one of the more recent Pixar films. I think that it has one of the best stories in one of the more modern Pixar films. I think that it definitely takes it over the likes of like Soul and Luca and Turning Red for me. I think that it's still a better film than something like Inside Out that I had a lot of fun with. I think that narratively it's also a lot of fun with how it like does a twist and I think it's actually really good. I had a lot of fun. So I give it 4 stars out of 5. And I feel like on the rewatches I could give it more, but I give it 4 out of 5.
Yeah, for me, I'm just checking when my most recent watches, because I gave it 5 stars. I don't know if I would still give it 5 stars. I've seen it last 4 years ago. 5 years ago actually. So it's been a while. It's like before we started a podcast was the last time I actually seen it. I didn't rewatch it for our Pixar bracket. And I feel like most of the time Wall-E ended up winning the bracket, or like Incredibles or something like that. It for me is somewhere in the top 5 for sure, but at the top there at Pixar there's some really good films.
I also see that on Letterboxd you saw the new Crow movie, which makes me more excited to kind of watch this for the first time.
Because
you gave
so
it,
campy.
You gave it 2 out of 5, which is one of the higher ratings I see.
The original one I gave, I think, a 2. Did I give the original a 2 as well? Or I think I gave the old one a 2.5 and the new one a 2.
Right.
But I mean, we can just get to that. I had them like brief top of flop type of news. I guess I do have a short review for it.
Sorry, didn't mean to jump.
You can jump the gun. I can start with the short reviews and then get to top and flop. But The Crow, I thought I wouldn't be able to see it. It's through Lionsgate. I was able to see it early, even though it's not out in Switzerland yet. Yada yada. But the new one is very much like, it takes a while to get going. The good thing about the first one is that it just like starts with the premise of like this indestructible guy. Pretty much the first scene is when that stuff happens, and the new one is doing like flashbacks and takes an act to get going, then has a second act, and then the third act where like it escalates. And the first one, which is by the way 40 years old now, it's crazy, just like does whatever it wants straight from the get-go. And it's super campy, the effects and the aesthetic and all of it. I get why it has a cult following. I didn't love it. If you just like, the violence, if you're in for that, like that whole emo shtick, if that's like tickles your fancy, then you might enjoy it. I didn't really love it, but I get why it has a cult following. I doubt that the new one will like be able to tap into that, even if it's a bit like edgier in its presentation. At the core, it isn't really. In my review, I don't know if you read it, but it feels just like MGK and Megan Fox circa 2022, when they were like talking about like drinking their blood or whatever the fuck they were doing. That's like how this couple in this movie comes off. Then I think we talked about you may be checking out Vince Vaughn's Bad Monkey, that Apple TV Plus show that is currently airing. I got to see the whole series. series, so I'm not gonna spoil it, of course, here, but that one's just a good bit of fun of just I guess the type of comedy style it doesn't get to do. These types of comedies are not made into movies anymore. It's very much out there with the amount of characters that feel like they are like pushing into what's being more than supporting and being lead. Vince Vaughn at the center of it all is funny, but you can't really get a grasp on his character because he is just like sarcastic joke machine the whole time. It's based on another story and a novel that is adapted, and you can kind of feel that maybe some of the translations, I don't know what they did there. It doesn't 100% work, but I feel like it's entertaining overall. Although I don't think it's going to be a huge hit, but I can give that a mild recommendation. And then Only Murders in the Building. Disney sent me the first 7 episodes of the 10 episodes of the 4th season. Last year they gave me, I think, all the way up to like the last episode before the finale, but they got some bigger stuff happening in season 4 that, of course, I don't want to spoil. I am not a fan of the series as a whole, so I'm maybe not the right person to keep getting these, but I felt like, hey, I'll watch it. Maybe it gets better to me. The humor isn't really there for me. The characters aren't really intriguing. They have a ton of guest stars now that they wanted like a ton of Emmys. It's similar to The Bear, where everyone wants to be on the show now. And even people like from last season who you feel like are not going to come back, for some reason, like some of them come back. It's odd stuff. But if you like the series, I feel like you get more of the same. And I think the way that it's heading in this, I don't know if it's the last season, but it feels like a conclusion. Like there's a bigger finale that they're building towards. But I think it's a mess, and I don't really fuck with the true crime podcast of it all. Like, to me, the logistics of running a podcast in this universe as someone who runs a podcast just doesn't make sense to me in the slightest, and it just on the technical level annoys me a bunch. Those are the bigger reviews. I do have a couple of top and flop things. I finally completed all of Studio Ghibli now. I've seen The Red Turtle, and really sweet film. Like, I recommend it to you because it's this story that doesn't have dialogue, really, and it's about like parenting, about guilt, about all very like I want to say essential memes, but essential themes, but it's more existential themes that it tackles. I don't know if it nails it, but if you just look at it, like, you got something in your system, you know, and then you experience it, you feel like this is the deepest shit I've ever seen. But yeah, the animation's great, story is pretty fun. I'm talking more than top and flop in this, I'm sorry, but The Cleanup Crew was total shit. The Beast Within also, I just felt like watching 2 shit films that came out this week, and I did, because they had like a bigger actor in them, in both of them. Then Reinas, this movie's out September 5th. I'm already talking about it now because we'll be gone next week, but that's one of the 2 options for the Swiss submissions for the Oscars this year. I don't think this is getting in, but it basically tells the story of a family in Peru that maybe wants to escape the country, and family drama that comes with that. Then I watched the original 1989 The Killer from John Woo in preparation for the remake that he does himself that comes out today that we record. I couldn't watch that one yet, but The Killer is crazy action, and then towards the end it actually gets like pretty good with the characterization and crazy shootout, of course, but also on an emotional and character level it's pretty good. And then lastly, I watched Greedy People just before we started recording. I did not expect that movie to be as dark as it is and as grim. The comedy aspects, I feel like it falls flat on its face. Some of the more crime elements are actually done quite well. So yeah, I can give that a recommendation too. And then for Venice, I watched The Biggest Splash and La Piscine. Biggest Splash, Luca Guadagnino remake of the French classic. Both are worth seeing. I think La Piscine is, though, the better film, and A Biggest Splash is definitely one of Guadagnino's weaker films. Then I caught Jackie because Maria is playing in Venice, and I wasn't really as in for it as I was with Kristen Stewart and Spencer. Natalie Portman as Jackie didn't really work for me as a whole. Then Cop Car was had 2 kids in it, so I hated the kids, unfortunately. That was, sorry, I just can't get away from that. That's a John Watts film, and he has Wolves premiering at the fest. And then I also watched the first Beetlejuice movie. That movie actually holds up super well. I think it's so campy and out there, but all in the right places. It's incredibly funny. And Gina Davis is just incredible, especially in her early roles. I couldn't get my eyes off of her. But yeah, that's all the stuff that I watched this week. So Lachlan, I don't know if The Crow would have been more interesting to talk about this week, but we had 2 films out, Blink Twice and The Crow. And we went with the first one here, the directorial debut from Zoë Kravitz. She gets to assemble a cast through, I guess, having worked in the industry for a while that is very respectable. If they get utilized to the best degree, I don't know. If the story comes together, I don't know. But Lachlan, what's the story?
When tech billionaire Slater King meets cocktail waitress Frida at his fundraising gala, he invites her to join him and his friends on a dream vacation on his private island. As strange things start to happen, Frida questions her reality.
There we go, coming in at a runtime of 102 minutes and having been received quite positively so far in its, I guess, first 2 days of release at the time of recording. Currently sits at a 3.4 on Letterboxd, a 7 on IMDb, and a 72 on Metacritic. I have to be honest, I think that is a bit surprising to me that it's this high. But we're gonna start it off with a non-spoiler section of our review, because once we get into the twists and turn the story takes, I feel like a lot of it, I don't know if it gets ruined because it's obvious that there's something afoot, and you know that it needs to build to something. But we don't want to reveal that just yet. But yeah, on a setup level, on a character level, just considering the cast that Kravitz was able to assemble for her first feature here, casting her own partner in this with Channing Tatum, do you think this was a successful debut feature?
I actually think it is, because I feel like this narrative has the core of I want to make an M. Night Shyamalan movie without it being shit. Because if I'm honest, I think that it kind of nails its tone throughout the entirety of the film. I think it's a little bit slow to get started with, and I think all in all, it doesn't engage you really quickly. It is quite a slow start, and honestly, I think I hated the start more than anything else. But once the ball gets rolling, I kind of got engaged with it quite quickly. I have to admit, like, the notes that I wrote down was something along the lines of the first thing I said was, fuck, that's a cast, because obviously it goes through this Met Gala ballroom scene and you meet the likes of Channing Tatum, Naomi Ackie, you also have Christian Slater, Simon Rex. You don't get to meet Adria Arjona until a little bit later on, but Haley Joel Osment was in it, and like there was just a massive cast. Kyle MacLachlan, that one got me losing my mind as a massive Kyle MacLachlan fan. It's a cast, it's a lot of people, and it throws it at you very quickly, like a gala should. You are around all these people, and then you enter this sort of island that has the, as I said, that's when I started feeling like it felt like an M. Night Shyamalan movie, where it's
the beach that makes you old,
interesting destination.
The island that makes you forget.
There's these weird characters, this mix match of people who kind of have come together, and you get that feeling. It felt like it was a good directorial debut because everyone in it did a great job. I actually have no problems with any of the performances, even with how wild of a performance this is for Channing Tatum. A lot more of a serious role than what he's kind of used to seeing him in. I think he does a fine job. I do think the role could be given to someone else and it would have been done better, but I think that I have no problems with him playing Slater. I think the only problems I have is, even though this is shot by a very good cinematographer, like, this person has a lot of fantastic, the name's not coming to me, but I'm pretty sure it's the same cinematographer as The Last Black Man in San Francisco and along those lines.
Adam Newport Barra.
Yeah, he fantastic cinematographer and really knows what he's doing. I don't think this film ever has anything that makes me go wow when it comes to the visual elements of this film.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very common for people to kind of just go, center framing looks pretty, and you get that, and you have a lot of that center framing stuff, and sort of the symmetrical framing of a lot of shots. And for me, it's like, all right, cool, that's the easy route. You definitely could have gone a little bit different and get a little bit more interesting. And I also feel like the start of the film doesn't have a fantastic editing situation going on. I feel like it cuts weird. There is a moment where you get on the island, where you first get there, and in the span of like 60 seconds, it cut like almost like 50 times. It was like literally just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
I think that whole thing is obviously like intentional, that it tries to set up the premise of disorienting you and disorienting our lead characters. We can talk a bit more about that in spoilers, but I had problems with the editing as well, because that type of thing ended up undercutting maybe the realizations that some characters go through later on, because it felt like it's never building towards anything. It's just giving us moments. It's a difficult thing to do because it ultimately like plays with memory, and it's tricky to assemble. Sorry?
Memory and time.
Yeah, memory and time. Yeah, and it I don't know if it successfully is able to deliver on that premise, and then all it has is a really like big cast that also plays big characters that can distract you from maybe its shortcomings. And I just never really got into that as much as I love like Christian Slater and especially Adria Arjano and Simon Rex. But I was just there's this one scene where Adria Arjano is like one of her earlier scenes, and she like blinks like 15 times in like a second, and she does for lack of a better term, she does have fuck me eyes that she also does in Hitman. So, like her seductive eyes. And I was so distracted by it. It's like, okay, and not that I got affected by it, of course, professional film critic here, but it was just it took me out of it, that like her performance, I couldn't really get a grasp on her character. And without getting into spoilers, I feel like her role doesn't really come together for me in what she ultimately does. I thought that maybe the core relationship between I'd say that I guess the two leads, who we don't include here, Tatum here, the two friends would play a bigger part in this. But I don't know, the setup, I think it's an interesting idea that is not unique in the slightest. In like, you get invited to a place where you're an outsider and something's wrong. You don't know what. You try to uncover it. It's like the thriller element of all that. Without getting into spoilers, I feel like it's tougher to talk about. So I'd say I don't think this is like a film you gotta see in 2024. I think it's something that you can easily skip out on. Like, I don't know how you feel about it. I felt like it had elements of just keeping you entertained, but for me the jokes also didn't really land, and there were a lot of like moments that felt like, here's a movie moment, that felt bad in the direction of she wants a badass female moment of like two marching and getting like, I don't know, doing some. I'm trying to stay clear of spoilers, but like doing something big, and there's supposed to be a big reaction in the theater, and I didn't really feel that it came together story and character wise. So that like took it down another notch for me, because it was trying so hard to have these forced moments where it didn't land. But would you recommend it to people?
I'm not so negative on it. I actually kind of had a fun time. I think that it's not too long to kind of like overstay its welcome, but I feel like it does take a while to get into its groove. I know that it's a mixed match of, some people love it, some people hate it. Not as divisive as the likes of Megalopolis, but definitely divisive in the sense that some people don't like how weird it can get. Some people don't like some of the messaging, depending on who is watching it and who like there's a lot of stuff going on with this movie, and it can feel like it gets a little bit political, but that shit didn't faze me at all. I was more entertained by what was happening on screen, which we'll get to shortly, but I'm okay with it. I think it's definitely worth going to the cinemas to see. I think it's a lot of fun.
Then I guess spoilers, where do you want to start? Final spoiler warning here.
So let's start with the twisty, wisty, wobbly dooey for the narrative, because narrative wise, it's all fun, and then there's these little tells with Freda and obviously example is like the dirt under her nails, right? So
Mhm.
I guess you could kind of see it as like having so much fun doing a bunch of drugs. And when you do drugs, you kind of lose time, and you don't kind of do like, you don't
Yeah.
see the little things. It's all kind of like big picture moment, really. Um,
Yeah.
that can kind of just be like, oh, okay, I see. So I actually thought that reveal was kind of good. Like, you notice these little tiny things as you kind of sober up a little bit, which is interesting. And for this, that reveal was good. And eventually to the reveal of what was actually happening on the island. These men taking advantage of the women that they brought because they won't remember what happens. And it honestly was a pretty fucked up reveal. Not gonna lie. I like the slow reveal that they give you. Obviously the first one you get is of Jess being murdered. That's like the first big one, and they're all tied up, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, they're doing some really fucked up shit. But then you get this particular camera shot that kind of pans around to one of them being tied up, and then it's like a pointed up shot of Slater and Rich, Carl McLaughlin's character, and Carl McLaughlin's character literally goes, so she won't remember any of this. And Channing Tatum goes, nah, the worse, the better, because the less they remember. So that was a pretty fucked up line, and that's when I went, okay, this is pretty fucked up. To me, you never get to the why, other than it's just like men, which is,
Yeah.
not too deep of a thing. I guess they could have done something a little bit further than that, and I think they definitely do. But from a surface level, people who don't look deep into it kind of just going to be like, men, bad. And, they go into some really interesting elements with Sarah, Adria's character, with her being on one of the greatest TV shows I think could ever be invented, called Hot Survivor Babes, where she's like, it's like Survivor but women only, and it's only
10
hot women.
seasons.
10 seasons of Hot Survivor Babes.
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
Survivor, I think it's just coming up on the 50th season, the normal one, not the Hot Babes one.
So, to me, that was like a really funny thing, because obviously it was like, it's obviously a play on the Survivor shows, and how, like, if it's women involved, men are gonna watch it, that kind of stuff. And the film itself does a really good job making fun of these particular things, and I think that was the most entertaining part for me. But the reason why they're doing it is like, and then even like Lucas, it's one of the men that are on the island. He doesn't do anything, and they kind of just like, and then Slater, Channing Tatum's character Slater, because if I say Slater, I could be referring to Christian Slater. This is where it gets confusing. Not Christian Slater, Slater, Channing Tatum's character Slater, Jesus Christ, ends up having like this conversation with Lucas, and it's like, you did nothing with your life, I don't like that. And it's just like, so he's so eager to do something with his life that he's here wasting what could be days, weeks, just fucking around, not doing anything. So that kind of seemed contradictory, because he's actively not doing anything other than just playing with his food, essentially. So when he's like, you don't do anything, you don't, put yourself to do work or whatever it is, that monologue he has with Lucas, it kind of just felt like, why are you saying this guy doesn't do anything when you've just spent the last week fucking around and not actually doing anything that progresses your career or progresses something? And obviously it's all testing, right? They're doing this so that they can test this substance, that they could sell it. That's kind of his excuse. But even that doesn't seem like a reasonable excuse, because he doesn't need himself to test it. Like, that's just dumb. Why is he testing it himself? There could be flaws in it. He's a smart guy, but whatever. That's just me nitpicking at this point.
I mean, I forget if they ever say what the what was, like, because it starts off with him apologizing for a controversy that he was a part of.
I don't know what the controversy was. I don't remember.
I don't think they addressed it, right? It's just, I don't know. To me, it's also weird that obviously Channing Tatum is a very attractive man. But to me, it's surprising that people would give that much of a fuck about and idealize this billionaire guy, when in our world, I feel like at this stage in 2024, they're very much looked down upon.
Well,
and
we don't have any attractive billionaires, I reckon.
what do you mean? We got Zuckerberg sucking it up. He sucks up all
No.
the juice, and
No.
he rides waves.
No.
He's the leopard guy. He can fight.
Billionaires. Hang on, I'm just
And
gonna
we got
type billionaires.
All
right,
Jeff
what
Bezos.
kind of billionaires? Okay, Jeff Bezos, not an attractive guy.
Elon Musk is a weird husk of a person. Like if he has a couple of chest bursters in him, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I guess we don't have the equivalent here. To me, I think that Adria Jano bit with Sarah is actually subtly quite clever, because it also is another, like, I don't know if it probably is an intentional nod towards like men being attracted to what they consider strong women, or like not self-sufficient, but like, I don't know, like capable. They can take care of themselves, but they don't actually want that. They just still want then I feel like there's a lot of commentary on that I see again and again, that like with feminist movement, that like the kind of support that sometimes comes off as fake from men, that it's even a bit of a red flag when a guy is like so outwardly like saying presenting himself as feminist, because it comes off as like fake in all the representations where the men could benefit from it. Long story short, because this is getting convoluted, Adria Jano being on Hot Survivors, where it's about surviving, but
babes.
it's about being hot. It's more about being hot. It's not about them being actually capable, but what the men are focused on is more the hot part. And that to me is like a little nod towards that, and I think it's quite clever. With the men, we unfortunately don't really get that depth where they are shown to, apart from, I guess, just being around someone rich and enabling them, why they do the things that they do. It's ultimately, I think it also wants to make the point of just, if you have power, you're going to abuse it, and if you have power over people, you're going to put them down.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a blank statement that it probably likely is true. In this narrative, I would have liked a bit more though from the characters to be involved, and I feel like the ball takes a long time to get rolling, and then once it rolls, it's like on a march, people die left and right in like a 5-minute span. Pretty much everyone feels like they're dead, and there's only a couple people left. And that escalation, I think it definitely, like, that's what they wanted with this film. I don't know if I vibe with it as much. And I just felt like I seen the story play out in better ways before, and it didn't really grip me. None of it really gripped me. Although I feel like it's got a fun story at the core of it all. It's just also in the editing, it really ripped it apart for me, like how convoluted it got. Intentionally, but to enjoy the film, it really took away for me liking it, unfortunately.
Bummer.
Do you want to talk about anything else but the very ending that kind of
I want to talk about Christian Slater's smashed face, because that
oh god,
makeup work,
that was brutal.
That was brutal. That got me.
We also need to talk about the amount of R-rated films that are doing well at the box office this summer. It's crazy. Like back to back, we got Deadpool into Alien, Disney topping the box office in the summer with R-rated films. Is crazy.
Why is this doing good?
I don't think this. I was about to say, I don't think this is tracking to do like super well. It probably won't overtake Alien, and Alien is probably gonna do better than The Crow and Blink Twice, if I had to guess.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Lionsgate has been not doing well. They got The Crow, and Lionsgate has been shitting the bed with all of their releases. Here's the question:
what was this made on? How much money?
It was made on Amazon money, which is kind of funny because one of the studios involved is MGM, and they have been recently bought by Amazon.
So this is going to be on streaming very shortly, and it's probably going to be more successful on streaming, I reckon. This is definitely a successful streaming movie.
I think so as well. Like similar to not as much as Saltburn, but it has like a similar maybe target audience there.
Well, Saltburn didn't have a massive theater run from my memory. Like it was kind of like
it did crazy. Yeah, it did crazy well once it was on streaming. Yeah. It was reportedly made for 20 million. It says here, which I think is a respectable budget.
That could be achievable. Yeah. If enough people kind of go, oh man, it ends with us. I love that domestic violence storyline. Maybe I want to see a second one without all of the drama. That's the only reason I can probably see it making $1 billion.
Yeah, it's going to make a
But
Blake
I think
livelihood.
Zoe Kravitz is onto something here. I think that she definitely has a potential directing career ahead of her. I think that
I like that she doesn't play it super safe. That's the interesting part about it.
She didn't do
Just
horror
didn't work
straight
for me
away.
this
She
time
did
around.
thrillery, which is more exciting. How most people kind of like horror is the easiest one to make. Where this is again more thriller, or this is a thriller less than it is horror.
I guess she hasn't been in a ton of. She's not really horror adjacent. I don't think she's done anything with horror, so would have been a bit of a harder entry for her.
No, but she's got enough of a name, and she's been in enough blockbusters that she has the ability to reach out and say, hey, I want to make this, do you want to be in it? And I'm sure people would probably say yeah. Like I don't think that she had to reach out too many times to people to be like, do you want to be in this movie? Here's the concept. Because I feel like most of them would have been like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's also like the way that they kill of Haley Joel Osment is so quick as well.
That was very quick. Yeah.
And then the younger guy as well, just like she nails the shot, just a headshot from I don't know how far away. I think it falls apart a bit to me towards the end there. I don't know if I like where it comes together where she uses the power on him. I feel like that plays better in maybe a written form where it turns into not a power fantasy, but like a power switch towards the end there. And to me, it also wasn't like super clear apart from using him forgetting like the drug on him. How she gets so much control over him. Like, I was a bit confused how that's working out. I don't know if I missed anything, but I was a bit confused by that. I don't know. Do you have an answer for me? Did you get...
What do you mean control? You mean like how effectively quick it gets into like him forgetting?
Well, because he keeps forgetting. She places herself kind of at the center of or like as his, I guess, partner is what it implies towards the end there. And just keeps feeding him the drug, so he always is forgetful.
He's like vaping it. So instead of it being, so obviously it's spray, which will get into the skin, but will take a lot longer to actually kind of hit you. Where if you smoke it or vape it in, like he's doing, it's probably going to hit you a lot quicker. So it's probably hitting him a lot quicker than what it is. And I guess if you say the worse it is, the easier it is to like, the more they easily forget. Which is kind of what they say when it's Carmel Lachlan and Channing Tatum looking down at Frida, then him seeing his best mates ripped apart, dead body on the floor, is pretty terrifying. So that's probably why he keeps kind of forgetting. But look.
Yeah, I don't
where
know.
The film
I just didn't really see
up,
it. It jumps.
It is out there. It is a big crescendo send off, yada yada yada. I had fun. Not gonna lie. I think that it kind of reached its apex for me when they were in that room with the whole final twist of Frida being there beforehand, she forgetting the finger reveal, because that one was set up so many times. Yeah. Christian Slater kind of just sitting there, makeup with his fucking like crooked teeth, big finger up to her when she walks into the door. Like I felt like the film narratively from like a written standpoint, like you said, like on paper, kind of really works and makes sense. But when it was kind of brought to screen, I don't know, was it the editing, the pacing, the actual performances of how it was brought to life? It could be any of those things. But I feel like this film, as I said, it was very M. Night Shyamalan-y for me, which kind of makes it the best M. Night Shyamalan movie we've had recently, because it's the one that kind of starts and finishes without kind of being like an up, down, up, down, up, down. This is great. This is shit. This is great. This is shit.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I don't think this film has anything like inherently terrible at it when it comes to overall. It's just kind of just like, I kind of wish it didn't really go there. I kind of wish it went this way instead. But this is the film we're left with. I liked it. It's fine.
Yeah, I ended up giving it not a good rating at all, a 2 out of 5, and yeah, not for me, but maybe next time. Lachlan, where did you end up?
I gave it 2.5 because I don't hate
but it's not
I don't
much
think
better.
It's fantastic. Oh no, but like, you know, it's not 2.5 is 50%.
Yeah, it's not a passing grade, but it
Fuck it,
like
3.
almost.
No, fuck you, 3. I'm giving it a 3.
Okay.
I'm doing it right now.
Okay. Wow. So on a power trip. Would you take a drug that makes you forget the bad times?
No.
Yeah.
Because the bad times inherently like his
Make the good
excuse
times
of
worthwhile.
yeah, I can go play golf with what's his face or whatever, even though he fucked me as a kid. I think that's what he was alluding to.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that like inherently like taking all of the negative things away is a great idea. So no, I wouldn't.
I think it's him projecting a
Certain
bit of
situations I would.
being. Yeah, in certain situations it's better to forget. Yeah. But him being cancelled for whatever he did there, and then the collective like I guess populace not accepting his apology, and over time not forgiving him. I feel like it's also him projecting onto the world, maybe in on top of his own trauma that he has to deal with. That he would much rather the world forget, and it would be a better place if they forgot about all the bad things, which
Yeah.
includes what he did wrong. And that's kind of
Yeah.
that entitlement that comes from someone who's so rich. So, like, that characterization for me made sense. Again, like the things are all in place. It just doesn't really come together fully for me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
but double feature. If
Oh,
you were to pair
fuck.
this up.
yep.
Yeah.
You go first.
It took me a while to get one because I was looking for a movie that maybe had a twist power shift towards the end, a fitting ending that kind of worked. I ended up going in a different route and just went with A Clockwork Orange, because there's a scene, the iconic scene where they tape his eyelids, his eyes open, and he can't blink. And that guy would love to blink twice, but he can't. So that's why I'm going with A Clockwork Orange.
So I think a great double feature for Blink Twice, just because Channing Tatum wants to create a product that makes you forget the bad times. So I think the best double feature for this is Channing Tatum's Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, that I still haven't seen it, but hey, it's infamously not a great film. Pretty horrible
I think
one.
that
Have you
he
seen
would
it?
like to. I have seen it.
Bless you, man.
I saw it when it came out, and that was in 2015 or 2016. And I think that I have also erased it from my memory because I don't remember too much. I remember Eddie Redmayne's character just being unhinged and whatever. But yeah, that's a particular one I think people wanna forget. So yeah, that's my.
Well,
double
we'll leave
feature.
it at that. Let us know what you thought of Blink Twice if you've seen it, or I guess what other films could you have caught this week? Maybe The Crow. I would probably recommend you give The Killer a rewatch, not the one from David Fincher, but the one from John Woo, and then maybe catch a new one. I can't tell you yet if it's good, but I feel like what we got the last couple of weeks is the better option to just go rewatch instead of the stuff that we got this week. But in this upcoming week, we do have a couple of titles. I just realized that I did it for just 1 week, and we're going to be gone for 2 weeks. But hey, tough luck. You'll have to deal with that. But to be honest, this next week, I'm not too bummed about being gone, at least when it comes to the movies that come out, because we got that AI-centered film called Afraid, that was formerly They Listen, which was a better title, but Afraid has AI in the name, and marketing can do something with that, I guess. Yeah, that movie doesn't look too great. There's 1992 with Tyrese Gibson. There's Regan, Dennis Quaid as sorry, Regan. I said Regan. I meant Reagan. I don't know why I'm thinking of The
Yeah.
Exorcist, but
I was gonna say
I said Regan.
It's
I meant
definitely
Reagan.
Reagan.
But Dennis Quaid is Reagan, and we'll get that movie in wide release in the States. And then Slingshot, you get a later release for that, I think in a week or two in Australia. But that's about an astronaut struggling to maintain his grip on reality aboard a possibly fatally compromised mission to Saturn's moon, Titan. And it has Lawrence Fishburne and Casey Affleck in it. And then You Gotta Believe is with Luke Wilson, about this underdog baseball story from the 2000s where I think a little league team went to some finale. Never watched baseball, so it's baseball. So it's definitely not for me, but for those who love a good sports story, that might be something for you. There was nothing that stood out in limited release in the States this week, but there are a few titles coming to VOD or digital this week. First up, we have 2 Netflix titles. First, The Deliverance, a horror film where I think they open up a portal in a house towards hell or something like that. The more intriguing thing here is the 8-episode series of Terminator Zero. I have screeners. I didn't get around to seeing them. I would have loved to already tell you what I think about it, but we'll have to do that when I'm back from Venice. And the same goes for the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power Season 2. It premieres with its first free episode and then goes weekly for 8 episodes total. And we'll definitely be chatting about that when I get back as well. Then in Switzerland, we have Cinema Day at Tagdis Kinos. So you get to go see films on this Sunday for $5 across every cinema in Switzerland. It's a really cool event where cinemas actually like open a bit longer and have movies showing all day. So if you are trying to catch up with anything and want to save a buck and you're based in Switzerland, then make the most of it. In Australia, you're getting the belated release of The Crow. Then you're also getting, as far as I can see, the only place I could find it, The Lion King, the 30th anniversary, a rescreening. I would love to see that in a theater. You also are finally getting I Saw the TV Glow out in theaters. And then Kneecap, that story about these Irish rappers who rap in their native tongue. I saw the film. I think it's worth checking out. It's very wild. And they also have a Letterboxd interview that is like the most chaotic thing, the most chaotic 3 minutes I've seen in a while. Definitely go give it a watch. And yeah, that's all the stuff that releases this week. Again, next week, we're off. At least I'm off to Venice. Lachlan, you're staying behind to, I guess, hold the fort and watch some stuff that you can catch up on this week. But again, follow us on our socials to not miss our coverage from Venice right as we go. And then we'll probably have Lachlan on for episode, I guess, 200 it is for Venice. Because Beetlejuice will also be out by then. That comes the week after. And Lachlan will probably go check out Beetlejuice. And we can talk about that before we get into the rest of the coverage from Venice. Yeah, Lachlan, any parting words before I sail my way over to Venice and tip a canoe or something?
I changed my Letterboxd top 4.
Wait, that is such a big reveal at the end of this episode. We definitely have to investigate it. Can we leak it in the podcast or is it?
Sure.
It's crazy when I now type in Thiele, it shows thief first, but then you are the 5th option that pops up. Your Letterboxd top 5 now includes Longlegs. What? It just, by the way, came out on VOD today. It's out now if you want to rewatch it. Princess Mononoke and La Chimera. What an interesting top 4. We definitely have to get you in front of a Letterboxd camera so you can share those pics.
Yeah, I took out After Yang and I took out Drive. I haven't seen After Yang again. I haven't seen Drive in a while. And these two have been films that have been on my mind, and I think that they deserve a little bit of limelight. I was very close to putting Boy in the Heron up there as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can switch it out with, I guess, more recent titles, but you got a good mix there. I haven't changed up mine in like months. But yeah.
That's all. That is all.
We'll catch you in 2 weeks' time.
Bye.